Hi everyone, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. It is nice to be back with Malpractice or Trial by Media. I'm going to be talking to you guys today from a very special episode of Malpractice or Trial by Media. It's been about 2 years since I've started doing these lives with you guys, and I know there's been a big break, and this is somewhat an end to a big part of this journey. So it's going to be a very special Malpractice or Trial by Media. We're going to talk about the New York State Court of Appeals decision. And I get to say hello to all of you again. Hi, everyone. Oh my goodness. This is so nice to see you all. Vicky, Carrie, Jean. Hi. How are you guys? So we won't wait too long for other people to jump on. I'll just let them jump on as we go. But please, if you guys have questions, just as we did in the past, if there's questions that come up, comments you have, anything like that, please go ahead and just comment and put your questions in the comments, and I will do my best to answer them. I guess first, what I'd like to do for those of you that will watch this after this live, I started doing these lives back in 2 years ago. So, goodness. So the decision to revoke my license was made on September 30th of 2021, which was actually my 40th birthday. After that decision to revoke my license, I felt incredibly moved to do something. This was incredibly unethical, incredibly illogical and corrupt, and I could not stand by and be quiet. I responded with a decision, with a response to their decision in order, the OPMC, the Office of Professional Medical Conduct's decision in order. I responded to that decision. It was in November, about a month and a half later after the revocation. And that response is on my website. It's on Instagram actually as well. And shortly after that, I started to do these Malpractice or Trial by Media conversations, partially to let people get to know me beyond what's in the media, and partially to document my journey through this process. What I had experienced from the beginning of this process that started in 2017 was that it became extremely difficult, if not impossible, to get my side of the story out into the public or into the media. Me, a team of people, there were much more than just me, that were working to speak to reporters, speak to court officials, speak to HBO, speak to documentary, all sorts of different publicists and all sorts of different people that could potentially help us to be able to get the truth out there. And again, this process started about 6.5 years ago. And it became very clear to me that mainstream media was not going to be an avenue for the truth. I did do an interview on Dateline. I did a few other interviews. They were horribly twisted and corrupted into the mainstream narrative that had already been created. So I started doing these IG Lives in order to be able to share with people who maybe were actually interested in the truth, my perspective, my experience, step by step through the whole process. So that I guess I'll just quickly give a summary, because I don't know if everybody knows how long this journey has actually been, and it's not over. But in 2017, it was July of 2017, was when the only complaint against me was filed with the New York State, with the Department of Education, or the Office of Professional Medical Conduct, the OPMC. And that complaint was filed by Sarah Edmondson. And after that complaint was filed, they responded to her in a letter shortly after, that same week in July of 2017, stating that they were not going to investigate this any further. This was not the practice of medicine, and it was completely consensual, as they had evidence of text message. Story should have been done there. But, for those of you that have been following, there's been many other things that have happened since then. And there has been a large media campaign to enroll people in a cancel culture, discrimination, hate campaign against anybody who spoke out against the narrative that Sarah Edmondson and some of her colleagues were creating. There were many actresses and media personnel that had access to media people that started the narrative. HBO jumped on board, and of course, as the federal government and the FBI jumped on board, this became very difficult to pierce any of that mainstream media, because as some of you know, the criminal trial that was connected to this entire narrative was prosecuted in federal court by our own federal government and FBI, and they did tamper with evidence in order to be able to secure their convictions and plant child pornography, which was the one and only charge that helped turn the defense, where the defense started to plead guilty 9 months after they had not done so. So after the FBI kind of hung themselves in that way, HBO, other media, a whole bunch of other media outlets became exceedingly more difficult to speak to, because, as you can imagine, they were facing pressure from our own federal government and the corruption that they were experiencing there. So, needless to say, the media campaign amped up. My license, although they did respond saying that this was not the practice of medicine and it was consensual, there was an article in the New York Times, October of 19th, 2017, which called out Governor Cuomo. And after that happened, I received a phone call from my lawyer stating that they were going to move forward with pursuing my medical license and moving to hearing. So I received a statement of charges. In that statement of charges, there were multiple falsities. They sent me a list of 20 some odd people that they were accusing me of branding. Most of them I had never branded at all, and we had no relationship in that way. Most of them we had no medical patient relationship either. It was essentially a bunch of, I'm going to say, hogwash on a piece of paper that was used to, I think, threaten me and come up with a statement of charges that they could pursue. Needless to say, they did not pursue any of that until after the criminal trial was over. The criminal trial proceeded. They held off on my medical hearing completely because my testimony, the fact that I was speaking out against this narrative, anything I would have said in that hearing could have been used in federal court to exonerate the defense that the FBI was prosecuting. So, coincidentally, or not so coincidentally, my medical hearing was put off until 2019, after the criminal hearing was finished. And at that point, after it finished in January 2020, I received a letter stating that they were reopening my hearing and that they were moving to interview, the initial interview of the hearing phase. So, oh goodness, hello everybody. It is so nice. Just a little pause to say hello to everybody. Very nice to see everybody's faces. It's absolutely lovely. Jeanette, Alicia, Evan, Kristen. Oh, so nice to see you all. So, okay, so to jump back into the timeline. So basically then the interview started and my hearing process started. My hearing process took 10 months. Typically something like this does not last that long. We had 13 different hearing dates in my case. Normally any medical hearing that goes before the Department of Health usually is 3 or 4 hearings. Mine was 13. through that process, I'm not going to rehash the whole thing. I've done a bunch of IG lives to kind of bring you guys through the process. I had not started the IG lives during the hearing process. I started them after. But I did recap a lot of the issues that happened in the hearing process in my IG lives. So in my response to their decision and order, after the hearing finished, the Department of Health made a decision to revoke my medical license. And after that, I started to pull apart their decision and order. So I reviewed a lot of the evidence that they based their decision on and started to speak to all of the issues within their process. For me, it became very, very clear and very, very concerning that our Department of Health and our Office of Professional Medical Conduct has some serious shortcomings. Human communication is difficult in itself, but when you add a hate campaign, cancel culture, lots of pressures from our FBI and our federal government that was in some ways using an administrative court to try to gain information for a federal hearing. As you kind of compound all of these issues, it was very clear to me and my attorney that the decision and order that was made was a very political decision. And in the decision and order, they pulled information from the hearing to try to support their already purported decision. It was very clear it was not a logical, well laid out, honest evaluation of whether they thought branding was the practice of medicine or not. They basically glossed over that issue, which was the primary issue in the case, whether branding was the practice of medicine or not. Because so far in history, I am the first doctor to well, I don't know if I'm the first doctor ever to brand someone, but I am the first doctor to ever be brought up on charges and for branding with an electrocautery to ever be called the practice of medicine. It has never happened in history. It has never been documented in any medical articles, in PubMed, in any research articles. There are no courses or textbooks or anything to explain to physicians how to go through a branding process. And being the first medical doctor to be brought up on charges for branding, typically in something like this, if there is no standard of care that has been established, which clearly there was no standard of care here, and I wasn't using my medical license, typically you get a warning, a slap on the wrist, something like that. In this case, they revoked a physician's medical license for something that was never the standard of care, for something that is clearly not the practice of medicine. If you read the medical legal definition of the practice of medicine, it does not meet the criteria. And long story short, I was absolutely appalled and very, very concerned about our legal system and the influences that media has on our legal system. As a result, I started these IG Lives, Malpractice or Trial by Media, and I continued them for 2 years. Through that process, I've had so many of you reach out to me. I've had so much support. I've had people who have donated money, time, resources, their brains, their hearts, their homes, to helping me stand against this corruption, stand against this issue, and bring this information to the public's awareness. During that process, we raised money to file with the New York State Supreme Court, and we filed an Article 78. We did fully submit that Article 78 to the New York State Supreme Court to question the OPMC's decision in revoking my medical license. We received the decision from the New York State Supreme Court, which was not in our favor. They did support the Office of Professional Medical Conduct, and again, did so in a manner that was very flippant, very disrespectful, and quite honestly, I think continued the corrupt and ignorant narrative that has been created in the media in reference to this issue. Again, I'm not going to rehash that. I have videos on IG Live. I've done videos that show clips. There's an entire video of the hearing of the New York State Supreme Court, the oral arguments. There's 10 minutes where that was discussed in front of the entire court. And you can see some of the comments that the judges made that were very biased, very non-objective, very prejudicial. Again, very concerning as to how our court sees cases. After the New York State Supreme Court made their decision, you guys continued to support me, and I continued to stand for this, and we brought it to the highest court in New York State, the New York State Court of Appeals. And we made a motion for leave of appeal. And that is the reason I'm having this IG Live today. So we created that motion. Normally, you can only bring an issue to the New York State Court of Appeals if it's an issue that not just affects the doctor that is bringing the issue, but if it's an issue, or the person that's bringing the issue, but if it's something that will set a precedent that affects many other people. Now, in my case, the decision they made to revoke my medical license, they did so, they peered into a physician's private life and decided that what I was doing in my private life was not okay. They then made it part of the practice of medicine in a very illogical way, and then they decided to revoke my license. That is something that affects every single physician. Every single physician. If we allow this precedent to stand, the OPMC will be allowed to peer into the private lives of physicians. And as we've seen happen in COVID, as we've seen happen in other places in our legal system and in our cancel culture, if you're not vaccinating your children, if you're homeschooling, if doctors are not agreeing with the vaccination information that's being put out by the government, their licenses are threatened. Their licenses in some situations are revoked. It is no different. What happened to me is exactly the same as what happened to physicians during COVID. If you do not agree with the government's narrative, they are taking your license. Now, this is something that, thank God, has been fought against. You know, the Dr. Gold, Simone Gold, and the doctors who've united against those types of movements are making progress. There are legal cases against that. I have now completed this legal journey and have completely documented everything that has happened in my situation. So here's the reveal. So although the New York State Court of Appeals denied my motion to bring this case to the New York State Court of Appeals, everything has been documented up to this point. So again, I think this decision and the way that our court has handled my case is extremely concerning. The fact that the New York State Court of Appeals could deny a motion for leave to appeal on an issue that sets a precedent for every doctor in our society is very, very concerning. The fact that they did not even hear my case in the New York State Court of Appeals is very, very concerning. And it should be to all of us. So I cannot congratulate, Simone Gold and the frontline doctors enough. I cannot thank all of you who have supported me through this process, who have made it possible for me to take this stance this far. We have literally taken this stance to the highest court that we can take it to. And at this point, there is no further governing body to bring this to in order for this decision to be looked at. However, they say that history is written by the winners. And I have to say, I have seen over and over in this past 6.5 years how that's true. How the bullies, the government, the corruption, those with power, with larger, louder voices, HBO, the squeakiest wheel gets the grease. And in a lot of ways, what has happened is that history has been written by those people who can talk the loudest. However, in this wonderful age of social media, I have been able to completely document in all of these legal motions all of the efforts that we have put forth and the truth that has gone on in this process. So it's documented legally all the way up to the highest court in New York State, and it is documented orally here in all of my IG lives, in all of my videos. These will be posted on YouTube, and there will be an entire record of what these courts have decided to do, of the illogical, unethical process that they have used in order to allow this decision to revoke my license to stand. So I, again, want to thank everybody who has supported me, who has continued to be there. Seriously, I could not have done this without so many of you. Oddly enough, because I stand against so much hate, many people wouldn't even want me to mention their names, but many people have stood openly with me and are willing to stand in the fire, in the face of hate, in the face of cancel culture, and to speak out against the corruption that is happening, because they recognize that if we allow this to happen and we allow our government to do this, we allow our media to do this, then it can happen to any one of us. So what next? What next? Let me pause. I've seen a bunch of writing and a bunch of comments. So let me just do a quick little check-in here and see where we're at. And okay. Let's see This is crazy and corruption. You are so strong. I'm so proud of you. I have to get to my meeting. Catch me up. If it's consensual, then there is no issue. The frat in my school literally branded guys during initiation. No criminal charges. Exactly. We will always support you. You guys are so sweet. I'm disgusted and agree. Most doctors I know are such creeps privately. Yeah, that's a whole nother issue. Yes, take an unproven vaccine or fired. Thank you for standing up for yourself and for us, not only physicians, but all the rest of us that have state professional licenses. You guys have been listening to me. Yes, exactly. Anybody who has a state professional, a state licensed, anybody who is a state licensed professional, this affects. So literally thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people are affected by this decision. And I will keep speaking out. We will all keep speaking out. What's next? Well, wait, before I get there, I do just want to say, I think I've said thank you to so many of you who've supported me, but you know what? I am pretty damn proud of myself too. So I just want to give myself a little shout out as well, because this has definitely been the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. For the past 6.5 years, standing against this tremendous amount of hate and corruption has been a journey. And I will say, to any of you who have backed down, who have stayed silent, who are burning and twisting and guts twisting inside because you know something is wrong and you have the power to stand up against it, I will say, though this was not an easy journey, though this was not something that has been easy to do, I am very, very proud of the person that I am becoming. I am very, very proud of the decisions that I've made to speak out. Any of you, I think, that have been bullied, that have had comments written about you, that have had nasty things said about you, that have had lies spread about you, you know that somewhere deep inside of you, you always question, and you have the choice to take on that belief about yourself. You have the choice to believe what they're saying about you. And I can't tell you the incredible internal struggle that it has been for me to keep my mind right, and to make sure I'm honest with myself and question myself. Are what these people think is saying about me true? But also maintain my dignity and my integrity. And when it's not true, to be able to say it's not true, and to be able to stand for what I know to be true, despite a tremendous amount of pressure to change my perspective. So though I may not have my medical license, though we may not have won this decision in the New York State Court of Appeals, though I may not have the home and the money and all of the other things that I used to have and enjoy, including my Platinum Amex card and my Delta Sky Lounge, though I may not have any of those things anymore, I do have my dignity, I do have my self-respect, I do have a sense of self-love and respect that I didn't know before. So if any of you are in a situation where you've seen something, you know something is wrong, you want to stand up and you're struggling to do so, just do it. Just do it. You'll make mistakes, you'll trip, you'll stick your foot in your mouth, you'll do all sorts of stuff, but you will find a way, hopefully, to, not out of spite, not out of hate, not out of anger, but out of human dignity, respect, and love for our standards as a human team, hold other people accountable, hold other people to a higher standard, so that we can maintain a beautiful, civilized humanity that works together, that loves together, that creates together, and that doesn't rip each other apart. So if there's something eating at your conscience, if there's something going on inside of you, please take that step today. If there's nothing that I have accomplished, if there's nothing legally that I have accomplished, I hope that I've inspired you to find that place and that courage inside of you to take that one step. And if you do, just like I've had ripples and effects, you'll have ripples and effects. And who knows how all of us together, making those decisions together, what kind of effects we can have. So if there's any wish or request that I can request from any of you, please have the courage to stand up and do what you know to be right. And I promise you will be rewarded. Maybe not externally or materially, but internally, with God, with yourself, you will be eternally rewarded. And every single one of us on this planet will benefit from your decisions to do so. So, where do we go from here? It's not over. I mean, many of you know this is the end of one chapter. You know, my medical license in this case. I will continue speaking out. I'm sure at some point I will write a book. However, there's still a civil suit. There's still me and my fellow colleagues, I guess, comrades would like to say, an uncivil suit that is going on. There's still an uncivil suit that is going on, and I'm still being sued for RICO charges, sex trafficking, forced labor, things that I had nothing to do with and would never ever dream of doing in my life. And that continues to move forward. Keith Ranieri's case and his appeal is still underway. There is a Rule 33 that has been filed to shine light on the evidence tampering that the FBI has committed, and that is still underway. So they are continue to document. The dossier project is absolutely still live and kicking. Many of you know that Nikki Klein had left the dossier project and taken a completely different stance. I respect her as a person and I respect her decision. I, however, have a very different perspective, and myself and the rest of the women in the dossier project are continuing to document. Our objective in the dossier project was to document the truth, of our experience and the facts, the objective facts and data of DOS, the sorority for the women in this particular case. Now, again, there's a lot of other narratives that are out there, but our side of the story has never been documented. It's never been allowed to be documented. When Nikki decided to leave, a lot of that was erased. The website was taken down, and a lot of the history that we worked so hard to publish was taken down. We are resubmitting, recreating, redesigning all of that information, and our objective is to make sure that history is not only written by the winners. We are going to make sure that this perspective is documented and that the truth of our experience and the truth of DOS as we know it is documented. So the truth of my medical hearing and all of that is documented legally, verbally. The dossier project is continuing to do so as well. And all of the court documents that are being filed in Mr. Ranieri's name to expose the evidence tampering are also being recorded. So all of this will be completely documented. I'm not sure how often I will continue to do lives. I will give you guys updates from time to time. Like I said, the civil suit is still going on, and there are still these other efforts going on. So I will keep you guys posted as needed. By all means, I love seeing your comments. I love hearing from you guys. Dr. Patel, how are you? I love seeing all of you, and I really appreciate all of your support. So please, by all means, continue to reach out. By all means, continue to, if there are ideas that you guys have, if there are things that you want to do, if there are people you want to introduce me to, anything like that, I am very, very open to all of this. I'm just going to do another quick sweep of everybody's full. I hope this is inspiring. I hope this inspires you to go out and take action in your own life. And I'm going to let Dr. Agripides jump on real quick and say a quick hello, and then we'll wrap up. Let's see if I